All right, let's talk about Ghost House, starring Scout Taylor-Compton and Mark Boone Jr. Mark Boone Jr. isn't in this a lot, but he's the only other name in this that's recognizable. I was looking around online for this, and man, this movie is getting blasted. Like 1 out of 10s, terrible movie, worst movie I ever saw. Like I always say, if this is the worst movie you ever saw, you're fucking lucky. I really liked this movie. I don't understand, like, people like to hate on shit. I get that. But really, 1 out of 10, this ain't no fucking 1 out of 10. Get out of here. What I really liked about this movie, I mean, I'm going to get into a whole bunch of things I like. This plays off kind of like a Japanese horror movie, especially like the ghost movies that they were putting out there in the late 90s, early 2000s, and Ringu and Ju-on and Dark Water and all those kinds of movies. This has that feel to it, and America obviously did a lot of remakes of those, and we got The Grudge, and we got Ring, and we got the One Missed Call, and we've got a whole lot of those kinds of things. So that really did get itself kind of played out, and there's a whole bunch of carbon copy type stuff. Now this one does have a lot of those elements, so I think that if there are people out there that's sick of that, it's been a little while since I've seen one, so it's kind of like, oh yeah, this, I really enjoyed some of these, and I think that this is a really effective one. I really like that they take something from reality and played off of it. Over in Thailand and other countries in East Asia, they all have a spirit house in front of any structure that they build. Any building in Thailand, if it is built, a spirit house goes up with it. And it looks like a little birdhouse that sits in front of houses or buildings or whatever. And the more elaborate the building, the more elaborate the ghost house. Now, they do tweak the story of what it's for, and they make it a little bit more sinister than it actually is. I mean, it's a horror movie. It needs to be done. The reason they do it is different, but I liked it. I like that they acknowledged something so unique and interesting from that culture. And another thing that I liked is that this movie very much felt like it was, you felt like you were in Thailand. You really felt like you were a fish out of water. That these characters had no idea where they were, and they had no one to turn to. It was a foreign land to them, and they felt lost, and they felt helpless. And I felt that in this, and I thought that was very well executed. I also really liked the relationship. This movie is about a young couple that goes to Thailand, and Scout Taylor-Compton is obviously the girl, and a guy I've never heard, I don't know the actor. Their chemistry together was really solid. I genuinely believed that they were a couple, and I ended up caring about whether or not they were going to make it out of this. Now, the husband's acting and character does get a little wishy-washy, during certain parts, but in the opening I really liked him. Then there's some things he does, but we'll get into that in the negatives. So getting into this movie itself. Now, the things that I like, number one, the music, the score, I thought was awesome. I just thought it was very John Carpenter-esque. 1982's The Thing had a lot of inspiration drawn from that one for sure. We had like a 1970s title card, which I always appreciate. And I really liked the look of the antagonist, the villain, the ghost. I think with a movie like this, a lot of studios and a lot of directors, I don't know if it's the director's choice all the time, but whoever's in charge of, the effects, they, a lot of the times in these types of movies, go for a more digital CGI looking ghost. And the face can morph in this and that. And now there may be some CGI in this, and there is, but it doesn't look it. And the ghost itself is mostly practical, and it looks creepy. The villain is creepy looking, and I think it's effective. And there are some, I'm not a jump scare kind of person. I'm like kind of dead inside. Someone tried to scare me once, and they like jumped out, and I didn't react at all. And then they went and told my dad that they think there's something mentally wrong with me. And they might be right. I'm not sure. But I mean, there are some jump scares in this, a couple of them that are like, whoa, shit. Like if I had that reaction, I mean, I definitely would have jumped. Now, jump scares are cheap. I'm not going to lie. But it is what a lot of audiences, younger audiences, want. So to throw them in here and there to appease that crowd, they're effective. And I liked the ones that are in this. This movie has, when Scout ends up getting, when, I don't want to get too crazy into spoilers here, but obviously at some point they disturb the ghost house somehow, and they're being antagonized by this ghost. And Scout's character kind of goes through this Jacob's Ladder kind of hysteria, and that's the way it felt like when they're bringing her through a hospital on the bed and she's seeing all the flashes of this and that. It reminded me very much of Jacob's Ladder, which is always a good thing. And not to be too perverted really quick, but I was very, very happy that Scout decided to finally bear all for us to see. Thank you, Scout. Now, getting into the negatives, for one, and this might have just been the copy that I had rented, or because it was later at night and I didn't have it turned up all the way or whatnot, but I felt like the audio in this is pretty dreadful. I thought a lot of the background noise was high. It was higher than foreground, like dialogue, and it was just like I couldn't understand what people were saying a lot. And some of them are Thai people, so their accents are thick, and I was just like, wait, what? So I did have to watch this movie with subtitles on, and I have pretty good hearing. Not amazing, but enough to hear. Another thing that I wasn't crazy about, and I love Mark Boone Jr. He's just been an actor that I've always been a big fan of. His character was so underdeveloped and so unexplored, and it's just too convenient to the plot, and he's just there. I mean, it just feels like he's inserted, and then he kind of like throws in some humor at the very end when it doesn't feel like it fits. And it's like, okay, this is silly. Like, so as much as I love him, and I think he's good in the movie for what he gets, but his character feels like an afterthought. Like, oh, well, we need another American to help out and lead the way. And it's like, and the way that he's inserted and the way that they get him to be involved, it's just all so blah. And as I said earlier, the husband, the actor who played the husband and the husband's character was just okay to me. Like, he had moments where I really liked him. As I said in the beginning, their chemistry was really good. And then there was other moments in the movie where I was just like, ugh, I don't like this guy. I don't like this. I don't like this. The acting, the character, whatever, it just wasn't working for me in spots. And it was kind of just so it was kind of all over the place with him. I think in the end I ended up being fine with him. It just kind of leveled out to an okay. But yeah. I think that is... Oh, and the story is just overdone. I mean, we've seen this story many, many times. I like that there was a new spin on it. I like that they used ghost houses or spirit houses from Thailand, from their culture. I thought that was cool. But the way the story plays out, it is very... You've seen it all before. But I think that I think it's very well competently made. I think that the acting from Scout and other people, especially some of the Thai actors in this is solid. And if you're into like Japanese Ringu type stuff, I think this is a good watch. I don't understand the 1 out of 10. That's just ridiculous. This is not a 1 out of 10 movie. You've not seen a 1. If you're giving this a 1 out of 10, you have not seen a 1 out of 10. Manos, The Hands of Fate is 1 out of 10. Come on, guys. So, anyway, I'm totally glad I checked it out.